Hello, well, thank you for coming, everybody. And I'm here to talk about profit trends that are having an impact on the sublimation, the apparel marketplace over the next quarter and looking back a little bit on the last half a year. So what we're seeing is sublimation is continuing to grow rapidly in North America. Mass customization as a percentage of total apparel continues to increase. I often tell people, Facebook and Photoshop are our best members of our sales force, and we live in a world that is full of customized content at this point. A lot of phone apps going on, a lot of sublimation reacting to photographic quality, and heard an amazing statistic last week. There's 500 million images added every day to the internet just in phone photo applications, things as Instagram and WhatsApp and things of that nature. That is a lot of content, and I'm starting to see a lot of people look to leverage that and turn that into physical product. So we've seen that, and we've seen all over print continues to be a big trend in clothing. Let me hold this up. Here's my, in case I get lost on the subway later, I can use this. But it continues to be a major force on all types of garments, but especially on tops. And there's definitely a continued rise in the increase in substrates, socks, and there's just a lot of other vendors adding. I think a lot of the big brands, Hanes and Gildan and people of that nature in North America at least, are really starting to see that sublimation is not going to go away, and that polyester in particular is no longer just for leisure suits. Okay, let's see if this works. Hello? It's not working. Okay. Can you get him and let him know that it's not working? It's not working. Well, this is fun for all of you folks on camera. Oh, okay, here we go. Hold on. Is this my second slide? Okay, so this thing is not working. Is that? Hold on one second. Hey, is that the second slide? That's not working at all. Is that the second slide? Okay, so you're just going to move them? Okay. So these are the reasons that sublimation, sorry for the technical difficulties. These are the reasons that I think sublimation is continuing to grow. You've got a great gamut. It's very photo friendly. It's also photo/vector friendly. And there's very few decorating technologies that allow you to utilize vector information and photographic output together. And we see that continuing. Variable data is a critical element for the sports market. It's very scalable, and the price of printers is coming down, the speed is going up, ink prices are going down. 9 cents, pardon the US equivalent, but 9 cents per square foot, or about 80 cents per square meter is a rather nice price point for ink and paper. Now I got this guy helping me out. So we see that print on demand is continuing. People like to have an inventory that can become anything the minute it's ordered. I think that the idea of printing before it's sold is going away rather quickly as a percentage of total apparel, and the supply chain is wanting more and more to be able to be nimble. We're seeing it a lot in printed fabric as well. There's some companies like Spring Hill in the southeast in the States, and Teespring, a lot of folks who are doing rolls of fabric and then doing full cut and sew customization with a 4-day turn time, which is rather impressive. Go ahead. So a dynamic inventory, having a bunch of blank things certainly helps, and these are just some of the substrates that typically make sense for folks who are in the print-on-demand apparel side and other things. Here's an example. I had to make some socks for some friends. It's another all-over print application. I'm a fan of Germany, and since we're in Cologne, I went this way. But this is probably the fastest growing application that we've seen in the last 6 months. Go ahead. So here are some examples. Life is always interesting when you're a printer. I think my favorite would have to be the Tabby Cat Pizza DJ. We get a lot of interesting content. I'll tell you, one of the challenges of working with this market is editing your content. Sometimes we get content that's really concerning, and it's maybe a one-off or a two-off, meaning they're only doing one or two, but there are literally some files that I have a specific group of people that are printing them, people who I've had conversations with that are employees saying, look, is odd content going to offend you? There's going to be occasional content that we're not responsible for. And it's just one of the unexpected HR aspects of being a printer with people sending you images from their phones. I can assure you that there's filter software out there to stop the really crazy stuff from getting the print, and obviously we decline some orders when we're in that environment. We also rely on the brands that are doing these applications to have filter software as well so that we don't have to contend with the issue. But inevitably something odd will happen. And these are just a lot. We're seeing, this is actually a t-shirt dress, which I think it's about a meter in total length. And we're seeing a lot of people wanting a large flatbed press for that type of application. It continues to grow. We're also seeing, in the US, we always like to think we're green. In order to figure out what's really green, you come to Europe and see how important sustainability is as a percentage of the buying decision. People love to get quoted on it in North America, but there's still very little actual use of recycled fabrics, which is somewhat disappointing. About 20% of our fabric line is sustainable fabrics, and we find that the majority of the uses of that is for corporate sustainability offices, people who want to be able to reference something in their annual report about the uniforms of the cable installer having recycled product in it, or Coca-Cola wanting to recycle bottles and talk about how there's 9 or 10 recycled bottles in this shirt. We still have those types of opportunities. Go ahead. And these are my socks. It is crazy how much growth we've seen in this. We started out with a blank sock product about 18 months ago, and we're currently shipping well in excess of 50,000 blank units a month. Not all printed. We see a lot of blank product being purchased, but I don't, ties are, there's nobody here in a tie. And we're at a nice trade show where you have restaurants inside trade show booths. So you would think if there's going to be ties anywhere, it would be at a show like this. It's just it's going away. And so people are looking for ways to define who they are. There's a trend in San Francisco, people who ride their bikes to work, they actually get fully customized, really long socks and put them over their dress pants so that they don't get grease from the oil, from the chain. And it's like a trend thing for fashion in Silicon Valley. I think they've kind of replaced a lot of what the tie was. A tie is like, look at me, this is what you can tell about me. This guy is clearly into sailing. This is actually my foot, and I just started sailing, so I thought I'd make sure I was able to get home and could check my feet if I got lost. It's not a labor. It's a labor-intensive process because you're decorating both sides, and you can either do it with an insert or without. We were having a discussion earlier. One of the issues is that if you don't spread the sock during printing, when it gets over the person's leg, you're going to have grin through. You're going to see white patches of fabric coming through. So we try to think about solutions. We happen to make clothes, but we think about things from a printer's standpoint. And so by spreading the sock over the insert, you can at least limit the grin through that's happening when it's on somebody's leg. And then we see a lot of this is all retail stuff. There's a brand called Stance. I don't know if it's over here yet, S-T-A-N-C-E. And they are doing a ton of sublimated high-end retail socks, and they're at $19 to $14 in the store, which is a pretty good price point. Go ahead. We continue to see a lot of accessories, and they're typically vertical in nature. The gaiter, which is something that you pull over your face to prevent the wind from bothering you. This actually has about 7 purposes. It can be a bandana or a do-rag, as we say. It can act as a baklava during skiing. I've seen it used to twist hair. And you can sell them at retail for $29 depending on the branding. And from a cost standpoint, if it costs you more than $4 US to make this, your supply chain is not sophisticated enough. So it's easy to get the pricing down on this. We've seen fleece really come along, scarves, beanies, ski resorts, and ear warmers. So we spend a lot of time trying to find new substrates that make sense. And what's great about accessories is they tend to be a highlight of color anyway. Like, accessories have impact. If you get people will remember a bright scarf. They won't necessarily remember a bright pair of pants. Well, maybe they will, but not for good reasons. So accessories are a burst of color. Sublimation is very color burst friendly. It just makes sense. It's a good marriage across all parts. Arm sleeves and armbands, compression. There's a lot of research right now. People want to do a lot of things with compression. People want to try and do things with a lot of spandex and elastics. So there's some challenges there for sublimation. And we're working on things with copper-laced fabrics because copper has a redemptive quality, or at least the marketing of it has a redemptive quality when it comes to stay power and the length of time that you can maintain your physical edge. So we continue to see that athletics are always going to be a good substrate environment for sublimation. Go ahead. I think that's the last one, right? So that's the conclusion of what we're doing on accessories and what we see is growing rapidly. These are great for upselling. Everybody needs a shirt, but what I've learned is if you have a really good sample set, what I like to do is I like to have the same graphic on 4 or 5 different items, and the end customer is still always kind of like, wow, your color consistency is great from product to product. How do you do that? Say, it's just our print technology, and we can do the same thing with your art or your logo. So I encourage you to have a nice dynamic sample set if you're dealing with your customers, or if you're educating customers on how to sell effectively. Make sure they have a good sample set that not only represents different examples such as a sports genre, a corporate genre, but also color sets. Make sure you have a really great set of red samples, great black. Everybody wants to see your black and your red to figure out if you're really a good printer or not, and if you can hit Pantones. So that's just a little piece of advice that we've learned works effectively. And thanks, and enjoy the rest of your show today. Yeah.